Episode 276, Storm Ellen. Hello and welcome to another one of my rambling, meandering podcasts. Audio only this evening. It's not that I look worse for wear, but it's quite a faff setting up the camera, you know, so hopefully this won't be too long anyway. But so it's August 2020, still in some sort of lockdown because of COVID, and there's a storm arrived yesterday actually, over Ireland and parts of the UK. It's called Storm Ellen. So basically the way it works with the names, there's like a season. I think it runs from September to September. I'm not wholly sure about this, but the names basically come from, there's three countries now involved. There's Ireland, there's the United Kingdom, and there's Holland. And between sort of the three of us, we come up with each storm that comes, they basically pick some names, you know, before the season starts. These are going to be the names for the storms, you know. And the three countries agree on them. So you'd probably find there'd be some Irish names in there, some sort of English names, maybe some Dutch names, you know, but generally speaking, it's a first name, like a given name, you know, that each storm would get. So somebody was talking to me there the other day, and they did notice something very interesting. So basically, the beginning of the season, September. So any storms originate around the UK and Ireland, you know, they could have come from the Atlantic. You know, if they've come from the US. It's normally we use the name the US uses, but if this is a separate storm that hasn't been on its holidays to the US, then you know we have to give it a name. So basically, it starts off at A and goes through. I don't know how many letters. I doubt it goes to Z, but they have a rough idea. You know how many storms they're going to have in a season in the average year. You know. So basically, I was talking to someone, they said, you know what's very strange, Jason? I said, what's very strange? We was talking about Storm Ellen. He was saying that, well, Ellen, that's what, A, B, C, D, E, that's 5. So since September, right? Now bear in mind it's August now. We've only had 5 storms big enough to have a name named after them. Whereas in the previous season, from September 2018 to September 2019, we'd had 5 storms by the middle of January 2019. So we've seen an incredible reduction in the number of storms. Now bear in mind, this doesn't include storms that have originated in the US, you know, across the Atlantic. It doesn't include those. But it's fascinating, and I don't think anybody has picked up on this, and because we named them alphabetically, you know, I mean they do miss some letters, but yeah, generally speaking, and you know, there's going to be, you know, whatever letter of the alphabet. So this year, so basically January to August, we've had very little storm activity compared to the previous year, and I mean. The other guy was telling it to me, but it's an oddity, but he didn't have any explanation for this, why we should not have had any, not as many storms, you know. Now you can argue about global warming and all the rest of it, that's changing the climate. I do appreciate that our climate is changing and it's, you know, it could be global warming, that's fine as well. But, you know, to see something year by year change, it can't really be global warming. I mean, the change has to be over a few years, I believe. I know there's things are changing. You know, there's there's icebergs melting. There's we know that that's going on. So I said to the guy, well, maybe we need to come up with a theory. So it was that point I started thinking about it, and I was going, well, yeah. So there was, you know, the normal number of storms last year. This year there's less. So what's the difference, I wonder, between this year and last year? You know, what's the major change? What's, you know, happened? And, you know, there's only really one thing that I can think of. It's not the elephant in the room. Well, I hope it's not in the room. And it's the pandemic, you know, the great global pandemic of 2020 and then COVID-19. And I thought to myself, well, how on earth there's this virus, you know, and how it affected the weather. How did it, shall we say, calm the weather down, you know? And the only vague, hypothetical, shall we say, connection that I could come up with was that people had gone into lockdown pretty much all at the same time. You know, March, April for a lot of months. And a lot of people still not back into work again. Not driving the cars, not as many planes flying, you know, that sort of thing. So there'd been this great quietening, like almost a silence of, well, all this activity. Then it all, you know, hushed, you know. And I don't know what the connection that has to the weather. Maybe we'll never know. But I find it incredibly interesting that as the world slowed down, as people stayed at home to stop the spread of COVID, then the planet itself sort of calmed down. That certainly in this part of the world, in Western Europe, you know, around the UK and Ireland, we saw an unbelievable reduction in the number of storms. I think that's very interesting.